sorry, you probably already covered this a lot. But,
That's okay.
Just to try and get it straight in my head. So, even all the neurosis and neurotic patterning and compulsive behaviour, all of that is divinely guided as well. That's not even like a free-for-all, that 90% consciousness is guiding everything, and then there's this 10% chaos just allowed to be.
Mm-hmm. No separation, this is all oneness. Can't this be oneness and a little bit of separation?
The oneness can't just like cup its hands and say there's some chaos, I just hold it right here.
But it's still the oneness though. It's still consciousness. Because it's arising in consciousness. And who you are is consciousness. So who could write, what could possibly jump in there and be separate from consciousness?
Do you remember, I think I asked you yesterday about the question about if consciousness in this shape is deliberately forgetting or has amnesia.
Yeah.
And you said you close your eyes, you said you weren't sure.
Yeah.
So is it possible for consciousness to say, if the consciousnus is choosing amnesia, can consciousness choose amnesia with chaos for a period?
But it would still be it, even if it was chaos. There would still be no separation. It's still consciousness is chaos, so it's still consciousness writing the chaos. But it's not separate from consciousness. So it's consciousness deciding for the chaos.
I think
Do you mean by chaos as in separation?
chaos is in absolute spontaneity,
Yeah.
with no predisposition to anything, and no predetermination. Just pure immediacy.
No
those
cause,
are-
no reason.
Well, yeah, but like neurotic patterning. So I don't know, I hit somebody because I generate patterns of anger. But somehow the divine is not guiding that with its hand. It's given a space of its own to be neurotic and just to see what happens. I know it's very theoretical.
Yeah, because then it brings back to this is still spontaneously happening, but it's all happening in oneness. It's all consciousness. But consciousness isn't like a human mind where it's painting like a human mind. It's just expressing, but it's expressing in time and space and logic.
So I get that as an overriding principle.
Yeah.
But then there's experience, which seems to be one of the major reasons that all this is here, is to have an experience.
Yeah.
And if there's an experience with amnesia, and it's a different quality of experience with actually knowing what's going on, who you really are. So if consciousness in this shape is deliberately suffering from amnesia as part of a game, and the whole point of the game is to wake up to
Oh, I see. I think I'm beginning to understand better what you mean by amnesia. So what you mean by when it has amnesia, anything can happen afterwards, separate from its plan?
Just that it's identified itself with a particular form, shape.
And that form and shape could do something independently. Yeah.
No, this is the amnesia. He's talking about just forgetfulness. Like, is it what you're talking about? Consciousness aware of its nature and consciousness forgetful of its nature, taking itself to be a doer.
So it's forgotten that it's the ocean, and it's actually believing it's the wave.
Yeah. Well, that's what it is doing.
And I know it can never not be the ocean, but its experience
Is the wave.
And hypothetically, the point.
But the wave always is doing as the ocean dictates. It's never acting independently. It's never like separating and just becoming in a little glass bowl above the ocean or anything. It's always acting in accordance with with the ocean.
So acting in accordance or being guided by the ocean to act in a particular way? There's no sort of responsiveness between them. There's only the ocean. It's only ever controlling the wave.
The ocean, yeah. The wave is never acting independently of the ocean.
but there's a difference between independent and like co-originate or co-creating. So that the wave can do something, but like it gets the ocean's permission almost to do it, rather than the ocean actually.
It's a very hard metaphor, because then you can think about the wind, and the wind affecting the wave, separate from the ocean. So then it becomes a little bit complicated, but I'll just go back to that everything is life's will. All of this is inside of consciousness. Because if you just look now, my eyes getting very, if you just look now, there is consciousness happening, right? There is consciousness of this. And everything is inside of that consciousness.
But there's no point where the absolute consciousness that knows it's the absolute and experiences itself as absolute looks at the consciousness that's identified itself in an individualistic form as part of this game, and this side of it looks at it and says, I tell you what, part of the game, I will whatever you will for yourself. So there is only one will. Whatever you choose, I'll back you. And
No.
that and the experience to come out.
That
of
doesn't happen. Look in this experience now. There is consciousness happening. There's no separation from this consciousness happening. There's no consciousness outside of this consciousness looking. There is just consciousness. If you look just from there, here, all there is consciousness with everything arising in it. There's no consciousness stepping back and saying, I give you a will.
There's a consciousness here that's not experiencing itself as the absolute.
Yeah.
At least consciously to what I'm able to conceive.
Yeah. Is this what's it? Is that?
I don't, maybe we're getting tangled up.
No. So consciousness there is happening. There's looking happening. There's empty looking happening there. And then in that arises a thought, which comes from consciousness in exactly the same way that this tree, or you can't see the tree, this door appears. And this thought appears that I am this body, and I am called, did you say your name was Gavin? And I am Gavin, and I am so-and-so, I'm something years old, I don't know how old. I live in England, I have English parents, I have siblings, and in that arises those thoughts in exactly the same manner as everything else is arising. And it arises with an energetic pull which gives the impression that that is true, that that is who you are. But who you are is what's watching right now, and in that arises the thoughts and the feelings and the beliefs of separation, which comes from consciousness in the same way everything else does. And consciousness isn't like a human mind where it's saying, I'm planning this is what's going to happen. It's spontaneously arising in a way. But this body-mind mechanism, thinks that it's a body-mind mechanism, these thoughts are in no way independent and in no way a mistake. It requires another thought to think it's a mistake. It is as it is. It's exactly as consciousness wants to express. Because I know lots of teachings, like the way they start teaching people is they say that the mind's a mistake. That in some way they associate the mind or thinking or identification with the devil or Maya or whatever you call it. But there is no mistake. And now consciousness is playing the game of waking up, of the liberation. And so there's an apparent teacher who doesn't liberate you. It might appear that these concepts are taken on and that it's because of Lisa, but it's not. It's because consciousness is playing that game now. And liberation happens because that's what consciousness plays, not because that's what Lisa did to you or anything like that, or you did to yourself. It's what consciousness plays, which is who you are. So if you imagine a dream at night, like you dreaming, I tried to do this on the wrong, and the one was like, I don't know, I don't control my dreams. It didn't work, but we'll see.
But I was in defense mode, so
Yeah.
that's why maybe.
So
No.
he came up with the most
doesn't work.
weirdest question. I was like, how the hell did he think of that?
Yes. Like, I was into this mode.
So we'll try again today. So, So when you dream at night, you might be dreaming through two characters or one character, everyone dreams differently, or you might be watching both the characters. But when you dream at night, and the characters are, say if you're dreaming a liberation scene, so there's a monk and there's a student sitting there meditating, and the monk's saying to him, who you are is the dreamer, not the character in the dream. You're the one that's looking, one that all of this is coming from. And then the monk becomes liberated. Now, was it because of this monk sitting here? Or was it because of what this student did?
No, it's the dreaming.
And that's exactly how this is happening. So nothing is ever happening independently of the dreamer. The separation is never the thought of something outside of the dreamer. It's the dreamer.
Why did it say we have free will? There's so much about free will. Is that just a cliche?
So this way that this world works is an appearance of free will.
Yeah.
But it's not free will.
Yeah.
It's thoughts coming up, looking like free will. So here, two choices come up. One says, I'm going to buy myself Pantene shampoo, and the other one says, oh no, I'm going to buy natural shampoo. And then another one comes up and says, oh, let's go for the natural one. And then you pick the natural shampoo. But it was never ever free will. It's just the appearance of free will. Because it pops up in thoughts and energies, and you never chose those thoughts or energies. So it always appears still here in the appearance of free will. But here there's no longer that belief that goes along with it. The thoughts pop up in empty space, and there's no longer the surge into them that thinks that's me, that's who I am, I'm choosing this shampoo. So then when I get back and I realise that the natural shampoo is absolutely duff, there's no, so have you ever used natural shampoo and it doesn't even foam, and then you're like, you use half the packet just to try and wash the hair. There would be no you fool, why did you buy this one? You always buy the right shampoos. Naturally though, it wouldn't be a choice not to do that. It just doesn't arise anymore because there's no belief that I was the one choosing it. So there's no problem around choice. But Lisa, or I don't always pick pleasurable outcomes. I often, like everyone, it's normally about half and half. Get the duff outcome.
I notice a lot of my reactivity and negativity comes actually because I blame the whole shit that happens on a sort of a personal sort of consciousness which is running the whole show. And over the years I had so many experiences that proved this as a fact, that there is it established itself like a personal sort of relationship even with a phenomena that you could call inner guru or God.
Yeah.
And it became so real it would run my whole life. But still there was the reactive ego that didn't like certain things to happen, and it would have preferred it to go another way. And I just could not get over these resistances, and I could just not possibly accept everything that was presented in that dreamlike stuff here. And now, actually not long ago, I felt I have to somehow drop that whole bunch of concepts which produce these experiences. Even they look so real, but somehow I cannot buy them anymore because they don't bring any relief. Like 20, how many years, whatever, and I have no clue anymore what's real. And if that's true or if that's not true, but I can only see what's healthy or what's sane, where is peace, right? And it just, I never found any lasting peace in that. I found ecstasy, I found total frustration, I want to kill myself, all these waves, but there's no equanimity at all, and it drives you nuts. I mean, I'm like you're at the edge of insanity all the time. And I have no clue where it came from. It looked like it was initiated by my guru. So it was quite natural to see, oh, that's my inner guru now, because with the guru I cannot interact anymore. So, okay, that's the only safe place. So you rip up every door, like it's installed in the sanctum sanctorum of your soul, and you have no more personal life. And suddenly you realize, or these doubts come in, I don't know, are the doubts real or is the other thing real? And the fear is tremendous, like, okay, I lost everything because I bought into a wrong concept, and now there's no more chance to pull the wheel back, you know.
And it's not that you bought into a wrong concept, because as soon as you believe that you bought into it, then there's the blame.
Right, that makes the whole thing much worse. But even if I'm not thinking in personal terms of me, in a way, the situation is still as it is.
But the situation now is just this.
Now.
Yeah.
It's always stories in time.
In time.
Right.
And that's what this is talking about. That seeker that lives in space and time. So here, I haven't said this for a while actually, I enjoy saying it. When there's just looking at this, there's just looking at this. The one that's going into space and time is a seeking energy. Is that seeking one, the one that blames, feels guilt, expectation, shame and pride. And they're the 5 characteristics of the seeker. The expectation of what you want to get in the future, the blame that you feel for getting a wrong concept, the guilt you feel for getting a wrong concept. You never did any of it. The shame and the pride will come with the ecstasy. When you get high, you're like, woohoo! I did this, I got myself enlightened, I listened to the inner guru.
So happiness would be after we have dropped all those things, blame and the expectation and all this.
But not somebody dropping it.
No, not
But
somebody.
yeah, after it's dropped, then there's just experiencing, and there's no constant mind activity of being somebody in space and time who's got to get something.
Yeah.
Everything becomes incredibly immediate.
Yeah.
Incredibly immediate. You don't become a perfect person. Lisa's, but Laurent just, he's just beginning to realise that, like last night, what was it that, he said to do something, and I was like, no, I don't want to do it. And then he was like, okay, he went for just arguing, and then we were laughing our heads off. Like, it's like the feistiness, like Lisa can still be fiery and feisty, like, no, I don't want to do that, a stupid suggestion or something.
Yeah.
And then he responds, and he was like, yeah, really going for the anger thing. And then we were just laughing. It's just in the moment.
Yeah.
Like anger, all of it's welcome.
Yeah.
But it's just now. And then the next moment when you're looking at the bed, then there's just looking at the bed. And then I look back at him and start laughing, and then laughter's happening. There's no living in space and time of, I shouldn't have got angry, he shouldn't have done this, I shouldn't have done that. There's just that experience in that moment. I didn't want to do what he wanted me to do, he didn't want me to do what... We didn't want to do the same thing.
Yeah.
And there used to be a seeker who's like got to be polite about this, who's got to negotiate nicely, got to look like a good spiritual person. There's just experiencing happening. But the seeking energy is the one that's perpetually living in space and time and going over these stories again and again and again.
And there's nothing we can do. It's just seeing happen or doesn't happen. Then
It's just now.
It's like an energy, because like I don't hear the thought clearly in my mind saying, oh, it should be this way, or it should be this way, or she should have done this, or
But
I
you
shouldn't
can
have
feel
done
it in
this.
the body.
But you can feel it.
Yeah.
I call them talkative feelings,
Yeah.
but still. But there's nothing one can do about it.
No, because that's the same one. However, you're not on the Olympic swimming path.
Yeah, I see.
The story is coming here, because there is no hope in this, but also there's no hope for the seeker, but also like mind says there's nothing to do, and then it takes on there's nothing to do as some sort of depressive, this is meaningless, this is useless, I've got nothing to do, gives up everything, and it takes on something else to do.
Yes.
This is being talked about, you're coming and listening. Half the time I don't know where this stuff comes from. Some of it I used to say it came from my teachers, some of it does, but some of it now no longer comes from my teachers. It's just being spoken, these words, they're being heard there. And we don't know what's going to happen from that. It might come up the urge to sit in stillness or space, or next time the seeker comes up, that might be seen. But the one that thinks it's doing is the big fat liar.
Mm-hmm.
But this sort of understanding that may happen, be it through a satsang like here, or in another way, that does make a difference in the appearance, in the world of appearances and behavior, and then things may calm down.
Yeah.
If another presentation of truth reaches a certain understanding, things start to change.
Yeah, everything works in apparent cause and effect and logically. And that's why I say you're not going to Olympic swimming here. You're coming, like here, there is the discussion of what happiness is and what suffering is. However, I'm not saying I can liberate you because I don't see someone here who can. I'm not saying these teachings can, because there's nothing separate. It's because of God's will, but God's will works in logic. If you go and eat 10 burgers for the next 2 years, you're more than likely going to end up like a sumo wrestler.
Yeah.
Well, unless you have really quick metabolism. But it's more than likely you're going to end up obese. So, but what I'm trying to point to is that it's not because of the teachings, it's not because of me. I can't say that in a year's time you'll be happier or not be happier, because it's all what God writes. However, God writes logically. He's not writing for you to become an Olympic swimmer.
Yeah, in a way, the whole thing is not about what we truly are, because that's already perfection. It's about it's very strange, but it is about the patterns of the body-mind, because it messes up the whole thing. Because you cannot enjoy what you truly are if constantly your mind and body go weird and insane, and restlessness constantly. And then what's the fun of it? I mean, even if you have a certain understanding of what you really are, if these vasanas, that's the term of these installed tendencies, keep messing it up,
And
who can enjoy it?
I don't talk in that language. I never listened to traditional Advaita.
Yeah,
That wasn't
that's
my
fine.
path. But it is the seeking falling away. The one that believes that it's the body-mind mechanism, and that seeking energy which manifests physically in the body and gives contractions and discomfort in the body. But the one that thinks it's going to enjoy it is going to fall away too. And then there's just enjoyment left.
What you were saying there about the Olympic swimmer and cause and effect,
Yeah.
does that sort of give a validity to relative practices, to developmental practices?
It doesn't give. I don't even give how do you say it?
Validity.
I can't.
Validity. Validity. Yes.
I can't say the word.
It's okay.
Let's think of another word. Okay. It's okay. Doesn't even. I'm not even giving
Stamp of approval.
stamp of approval to what I'm saying. I'm saying it's all God's will. If that arises, though, that's exactly what's meant to be done. So if meditation happens, then that's what happens. It's that one that's always trying to make sense of everything and going into the future that dies. This is going to give me this. This is going to give me that. That one has no idea.
It's quite a big difference in what you're saying quite a few of the teachers here seem to be much more nihilist in their approach. It's like there's no point to doing anything, any relative practice. There's just no purpose. It's like it's an illusion completely.
Do you think this is what the others are saying? It's funny because people often come here, maybe you've missed it when people have come here and said that Caesar or Moody, they say sit in stillness, sit in awareness.
Yes, I agree with what you say. I feel it's the other way around actually.
The Caesar in particular mixes his tenets, so he speaks nihilist speech.
Yeah.
From a predeterminist point of view, and then talks as if you could make a choice at the same time.
Yeah, he's very confusing there.
It is confusing. Same with Muji, yes.
Muji also, yes.
But what they would say in their defence, or not even their defence, in what they say, is that when that happens, it begins to be, because what they say is, and what I would say is it's all description. So they're not telling you to sit in stillness and space, that's just the words coming out. And if that happens or not is what's happening too. And they often say that when it's looked and the attention goes into stillness space, it seems that it was all just programming, including the sitting in the stillness and space was in the program too. That's what he would say. That was never. And I used to go and see Caesar, not Muji, more Caesar, but not so much. My teachers always spoke complete non-doership and nothing to do. But
does it feel to you like almost like what the messages that are coming through are just trying to jam our machines with a spanner so something cracks?
But only in the sense, because that's what's happening. It's not really this what's doing it, or it's not this that's doing it, and that's what's really happening, that it's cracking separate from anything. It's just the way in which this works. These concepts are presented, or these ideas are presented, and then it seems to be, for many, and not everyone, a lot of people hear this and run a mile, never come back again, or some people spend years doing the same, coming to that saying and nothing changing. But it seems to be what happens in a lot of cases is that as these mechanisms, these patterns are exposed, the energy doesn't go into them. But it's not because somebody's doing that, it's because that's how life's writing the liberation story. So as Lisa, and it's static to experiencing this, as Lisa says these things about how the mechanism of the human works, it's then seen in there too, but not because you saw it, because life's writing in that it was seen there too. So you hear this, it's pointed out what happiness is and what suffering is. I mean, like imagine if you go to your dream at night, there's a monk there describing how the dream works, because that's what you dreamt though, and then the student's like, and as it's pointed out to the student, not all the time, but in most cases, the student then, or it's written by the dreamer that the student changes, and that there's less energy going into the seeking, less until it dissolves. But not all the time, because the dreamer can dream whatever it wants. If it wants the horror story and somebody to be seeking for 30 years, that's what it will dream, and it never affects the dreamer. Bye.
Somehow it seems like the dream is intimately linked with a level of relativity. Like, I think I remember a statistic about car crashes in India because of the belief in Vishnu dreaming, and that we're all just part of the dream, and when Vishnu wakes up we're all liberated again. The car accidents, the percentage of them was much higher because of this thing that when your time's up, your time's up, and you're not going to go before and you're not going to go after. Where in Western countries that's not thought of so much. So somehow relativity is like in league. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't even know
Like,
what I'm trying to say.
well, I'm not positive what you're trying to say, but
But like
well, I get.
consciousness in the Amazon, like 100 years ago, wouldn't wouldn't have took an airplane flight. They wouldn't even know what it was.
Yeah.
And yet people in Europe would have been doing that. So it's not somehow relativity. Everything's just not available. Like I can't pull a wizard's wand out of here. Somebody in the Amazon couldn't just had the thought to get on a plane if they'd never even saw what a plane was before.
Yeah.
But it all, the consciousness seems kind of magical that everything is possible, everything can be dreamed of, and everything can be realised.
Yeah. Yeah. And every game and story can be played.
But it's bound by relativity somehow, because it can't get on a plane if it never knew what a plane was.
Yeah. But sometimes consciousness also dreams magic as well. I have seen a little bit, not so much, but a little bit of magic stuff happening. And more often than not, to get over there, we have to walk, and it all works very logically. But occasionally, there's little glimpses of magic that happens. But this is a dualistic world based on time and space and logic and cause and effect. That's how this world appears. But the seeker thinks that it is in that, and it is something existing separately in that. And then when that falls away, it sees that you were always the one that was watching that. You were always consciousness, the one in which all of that was inside, rather than you being something inside of consciousness, experiencing cause and effect in time and space. Sorry, what were you going to say?
So for me coming here, there was an agenda,
Yeah.
and the agenda was to spend time here doing a couple of different things, but one of them was to up my hours of meditation to 6 a day from 3, but whenever I've gone between 4, 5 and 6, then lots of experiences come, like spaciousness inside, like all the neurotic panic, a load of space inside, and even awareness expanding out to the point where it's like bubbles of thoughts, and the high thought's just a bubble coming up. But when the meditation time is closed down for whatever reason, then those experiences go again. But what you're saying is, I came here and I had no choice whether I do 6 hours, 5 hours, 4 hours, or no hours at all. It's just gonna.
And if that's what has to happen in your liberation story, to sit and meditate for 6 hours a day or 3 hours a day, whichever's chosen, was never you choosing it. And the experiences were never because you sat and meditated. It's because that's how life is writing the story there. It wants to experience the story. Consciousness wants to experience the story that way. But there's nothing wrong with meditation. There's nothing wrong with doing any of it. I'm not saying don't do. I'm saying there was nobody that ever chose to do it.
Lisa? But it's not really the same to say there's nobody choosing to meditate or nobody meditating. Then it's meaningless to meditate.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's meaningless.
You seem to.
No.
No. When I say meaningless, because he talked about purpose, and that's, I think, the I don't want to call it obstacle, but that's what I think is what the seeker is. Is always like, why am I doing this? And especially with understanding minds like this. Am I getting right the fact that nothing, not even that I do, but nothing that is done or not done will bring liberation?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, yes. That is
Nothing.
what I'm saying.
No understanding, no practices, no meditation. Not that I do, because I'm not here to do it, but that are being done, understood, seen. Not even seeing will bring liberation.
It often appears that way.
Yeah, I just want to share something about that because I when I was like 14 or 15, I was in philosophy class, and suddenly I told the teacher I didn't know anything about philosophy or psychology, but he showed me Master of Pyramid, and I said yes, I want to be self-realized. came out of my mouth. And I don't know even why I remember this, but much later I ended up in psychology in the States and studying self-realization and disorders. So for me it's often that I feel like I didn't choose anything of that. It just kind of happened. So yeah.
And that is exactly what I'm saying, but I'm not saying it's meaningless. Like, it's the way that life wants to express the story, which is absolutely divine. It's like watching the bird fly through the sky with twigs in its mouth
Yes,
and create a nest. That's not meaningless.
So it's not meaningless, but not
But
meaningless in terms of the negative thing, but I'm talking about reason and purpose.
Cause and effect is an illusion. This appears in cause and effect, but it's not. Think of the dreamer, think of dreaming at night. Was it ever because the monk decided separately that it was going to eat the sweet? Or was it because you dreamt that the monk would eat the sweet?
Yeah, they don't have like a will on their own.
Because if it was, like, this is a really funny bit, is if it was about intellectual understanding, then the suffering wouldn't have fallen away here.
I see.
Because I'm not an intellect. There's many teachers in Advaita particularly that went to Oxford and Cambridge and great intellects, so it gives the impression that it's about intellectual understanding. And it's amazing, this really isn't about intellectual understanding. It's about the one that thinks it's the doer and can create and make life falling away. And then there's just everything.
But does it take intellectual understanding
Life wants to write it that way.
to understand that there's nothing to understand?
If life writes it that way, but some people wake up for no reason. Like you. And then the seeker came back in and said, now I'm God, I can do this, I can create that. And then the suffering began again. But you never asked that seeker to come back in either.
No, but it seemed to my mind that the going through the patterns of fear, the strong patterns of fear, the daring, I didn't do that.
Yeah.
But it really seems obvious to me that it's the falling down of the walls of fear, the going through the shyness, the fear, the talking, the expressing, the what's the term? The straitjacket. It's like the piercing of the straitjacket, which is fear and blockages that seem to have brought, but I'm not even sure that seems to have brought. Maybe it was, but you say it just written this way.
It wasn't that going through the fear and the blockages. It was that the seeking fell away because there was because there was a depression that happened. There was an exhaustion with wanting to be the musician, wanting a new album, or all of that began to fall away. And then the wanting to stand up to people, there was a standing up to people, so that wanting fell away. Because here, what happened in this story was the same thing. It wasn't that I understood Roger in the best possible way, and that I did everything Roger said, or Tony Parsons or Ramesh. It was that I lost hope in everything. I didn't even know I was losing hope in everything. It just slowly over time, even in spirituality and intellectual understanding. So some people, life writes it, that in intellectual understanding, then all the seeking falls away because all they wanted was intellectual understanding. Here, what actually Lisa wanted was love. And that's what everyone wants, really. But here it was, obviously, even in spirituality, I was seeking that heart chakra love, that feeling of love and being wanted. And it just got exhausted. It just got exhausted. I couldn't get it. And then it was a contentment without it. And then it all fell away.
Well, you can see relief as well. I was talking earlier about all that knowledge that we gather.
Yeah.
For those for whom it seems to be important, seems to bring relief. Like a little bit of what I talked yesterday.
Because of that, way life writes it is that urging, that wanting to understand, in those moments of intellectual understanding, the seeker falls away because it's been wanting to understand. So it's never the intellectual understanding.
Is the end of the wanting.
It's the end of the seeking. And life writes it in the way that the intellectual understanding gets satisfied and then the seeker falls away. Or it writes it in the way that you're in a car crash and just about to die. And it's seen that everything was futile and the seeking falls away. It can be in so many different ways that God does this. But the one thing that's the same, this is why there's so many teachers that talk about it different ways. The one thing that's the same is that seeking falls away. Always.
Is that why when you can lose everything in your life, including your health, everything, suddenly you can feel free and happy?
Often.
But that's not
people-
even sure.
No, it's not even sure. No, because it could be that.
Because this is something in the world, and liberation seems to be a...
But everything happens in cause and effect. Everything appears in cause and effect, and it's never because of that. So we can't guarantee that listening to all these teachings or that losing everything, will
yes.
be the way, but it appears in apparent cause and effect. And it appears sometimes that you lose everything, that you have a car crash, that your body gets ill. So many, like Karen Richards, her body got ill. But it's never because of that, it's because that's how life dreamt it. And life dreams everything in cause and effect, in apparent cause and effect. It's never ever because of the action. It's because life dreams it logically. It's not chaos, this world. It happens logically. If you drop this, it goes to the floor, and again, it goes downwards.
But it's very difficult to this goes to the floor, this goes to the floor, but then the intellect is an automatic machine that analyzes everything, or that seems to know something. So isn't that about a reprogramming, a reconditioning of the intellect to say, that looks like this, but it's not like this? Is it about this?
It's about the seeking falling away. I don't know, life writes it in so many different ways. For Lisa, it's certainly not about getting a really good intellectual understanding. My mind, this mind's never been a great mind.
I kind of get the sense that understanding, the quest for understanding, is a major obstacle.
Because you've got a very good intellectual mind.
Yeah, well, I can just talk from my experience. So it seems that's here
That when intellectual understanding comes along, there's relief, because the seeking's fallen away in those moments.
in the moments of intellectual understanding.
And the one that's all in
so
emotions, and very much in emotions and bodies, when there's relief in the emotions, then the seeking will fall away, and then they'll think it's about releasing emotions and changing emotions.
or understanding. Or the understanding that got to release the emotion.
But it depends on how that body-mind mechanism is.
Yeah. There's not the same urge than yesterday to ask the question today. It's just like a little bit of a...
Because it's really not about that. It's about the end of all questions, isn't it? You can
But
see
yeah.
the more happy you are, the less questions
The last
there
question,
are.
I know, yeah. And there's still a little bit of seeking to auto-destruct. Because that's almost all that's left. That's why I'm a little pushy even when it was I telling you yesterday. Okay, bring it on. Bring on the hate.
So Laura on last night was like, okay, so come on, bring on the hate. Make me feel hateful. So then I was like, I said some like really rude words to him. And then he just started laughing and crying and the whole energy changed. And then he was happy and he was like,
It's the attraction. But do you want to talk a little bit about the attraction to suffering?
Well, last night what happened, I presume, is that the way life wrote it was that you were avoiding the hate, avoiding the anger, avoiding the hate, and then suddenly the thought came up of like, fuck it, bring it on. And then in the bringing it on, because there wasn't any seeking to avoid it anymore, it just fell away. The seeking was perpetuating it.
But earlier, but during the day, I really observed myself not wanting to laugh. Like there was a laughing coming, and I was like, no, like, no, I'm gonna go back to hate. I need to work this hate. I need to burn the hate. I need Kali to cut my head. I don't want to laugh. Like it's too easy or something. But I see that under that little experience that there's a real attraction to guilt and fear and hate, although they are the worst experience to live. But I see a real attraction to that, and I don't know what to do about
But
it.
it's I don't know what to do. It's not you going there and choosing that. It's just the energetic pull. Like right in the energetic pull, it's to hate, destruction, blame, guilt. But you couldn't have chosen to laugh, even though you felt like there was the option of two. Because what was happening was the pull to hate. And then finally that broke, and then there was laughter.
Maybe you wanted to try that again and see if it works.
It wouldn't be me anyway.
No, if that comes up, yeah.
If it comes up, it wouldn't be me choosing it. It's like the story maker is having fun with us.
Yeah. But it's not even quite like that, because the story maker isn't like a mind. It isn't like a human mind. So the imagination of the storyteller isn't quite right.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to go for one of those oil things in the eye today. Someone told me that in Ayurvedic medicine, they tip oil into your eye if you've got an eye infection. And when they said it, I was like, ooh. So I think I'm going to try it just for the fun of it. See what happens.
You could also just try eye drops.
Yes.
Easier.
Yeah. Cheaper.
Yeah. I have some if you want.
Some eye drops?
Yeah.
Are they Ayurvedic eye drops?
Right.
They are?
I think I have them here.
Yeah, you have it in your own. I thought it's very good.
I see many people want to give their eye drops.
What? Yeah, I think maybe I'll just go and buy something like this. It's just basically some herbs to clear out the eye. Thank you.
I have a nice video here.
Thank you. Oh, it's gone down the back of my nose. Oh.
The thought comes. Do you want to say something about the idea you had of the month of March, because you're going to be staying here for the month of March?
So if anybody's staying till the end of March, me and Laurent are staying, and we're thinking if people want to, just doing a very small group of people just coming every day. So there being a bit more of commitment. If we're going to do it, it needs to be a bit more commitment. Otherwise, some days there will be nobody there, and a bit more of a follow through. So for like a 10-day period, coming every morning.
Is that you have to pay a lot for this place? Is it costly?
This is only 100 rupees a day.
Oh, all right. Otherwise, in my house, there's a nice roof also,
Oh yeah.
but it's a bit further away, so that's
Yeah.
more a better
it's really-
location.
Yeah.
This is nice here.
Yeah, it's nice here. And
Very
if there's
nice.
only very few of us, we're getting a really nice house as well, so we can potentially do it there. But I like it here.
No, but I like it here too. I think more than the house.
Yeah.
But the cool thing I wanted to add about this possible ongoing everyday satsang is that with little groups like this, we can, as we said earlier, it can be a great opportunity, I think, to expose maybe a different thing, to get a little more intimate. I mean, 10 days, in a row like this with Lisa can be, I don't know. I hesitate because the term effective just doesn't mean shit anymore. The term purposive, it's nice. It's gonna be a transformational. All this is, but at least we might get a head cut that even further. But I don't even know that.
No, just the urge to come on up.
Yeah. Yeah, but the whole like advertising thing is. Whoosh.
No. Makes
This is
terrible
good for you.
business.
How do you know? You know.
We got your point.
Yeah. But anyway, apart from that, I carry on here daily till the 6th of March. It's another 2 weeks, I think.
We'll get very, very hot maybe.
Yeah,
You don't mind the heat?
No. And there is this, and I could get another
It's
fan.
gonna be more burning.
And the
Yeah.
10 hours of power cuts every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's true.
Yes.
Like yesterday.
No, they have that.
In
And there
March?
are many complicated reasons why, but some people should know about. They told me it will not change until June, and it's very hot in June already.
And it's gonna they're gonna start doing 10 hours a day.
Yeah, well, it's already like between 8 and 10 hours,
Oh, is it?
including the night.
Oh yeah. Oh, if it carries on like it is at the moment, that's okay. But yesterday, all day, it was out. As long
Oh,
as I don't do that.
sometimes on Saturdays they do that. Yeah.
And how come there are so many power cuts?
Every second Saturday.
Or there's more than before?
Yes, because the demand is increasing.
The what?
The demand.
Oh, the demand, more and more.
is increasing. Yeah. Everywhere in Tamil Nadu there are new buildings. But I have a friend, I think it is not only in Tamil Nadu, I have a friend, she stays in Puttaparthi, Andhra Pradesh, Satyasandaba place, and she said to me, no, we have a minimum 8 hours every day without electric power. I think it is all over India, the demand is increasing, then they have to make new power plants.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they don't open that nuclear power plant. The people are protesting and all.
I'm trying out my new. Hello.
Wrong, festa.
What?
Festa. When somebody watches the video.
Yeah. And that's Lisa. There we go. And that's 12:30 as well.
Well, namaste.